Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Signal 11 Outdoors Podcast. Today, we got a very, very special guest, Joey Jones, a retired military Fox News contributor and host. Joey, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. I mean, believe me, this is a true honor. First and foremost, thank you for your service and sacrifice to our country, and to have the ability to have you on here. Memorial Day weekend is just fantastic. I mean, this is something that we all think about every day, but this is a very special weekend leading up to Monday. So thanks a million for having you on here, man. Just to let people know, I mean, anyone who doesn't know you, Joey's a retired staff sergeant. I think you did 8 years in the Marines, correct?
Yeah, almost 8 years in the Marine Corps.
8 year in the Marine Corps, and he's somebody that, everybody that serves is a hero. There's no doubt about it. We all agree with that. But I got to tell you, Joey, in my opinion, you may be a superhero because you are
No,
really.
yeah, I don't know
No,
about all that, man.
listen, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I said that, because I know it sounds a little like, cliche or whatever, but what you've done, the positive things you've done for people, and the comments and the interactions you've had with people over the course of your years ever since then is really, it's super. I mean, so we love you for it, and we appreciate that you are really so positive, and you are so energetic, and you are not afraid to talk to people, and it really is fantastic. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Those are very kind words. Like I said, I don't know that they're fully earned, but it means a lot to me to serve this country and try to find a way to keep doing it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thank you again. We're going to get into hunting. This is really a hunting podcast I do. We're going to talk about hunting. I'm really glad to have you on here. I know you hunt. And people are really excited, myself as well, to ask you a couple questions about hunting, just to see that side of what we don't know about you. But I have to start out with asking you, if you don't mind. I've heard your story, and I've actually listened to it multiple times, and it's just unbelievable. And maybe there's some people out here that don't know who you are, but if you could maybe bring us back to the incident that was tragic for you. I know you lost a friend, and obviously a huge injury to you. If you don't mind, just for the folks to listen in who have never heard this story, and do me a favor, anybody watching this, please look at some of the other podcasts Joey did, because he's got some really intriguing hosts that know how to work with him better than me. I'm just a hunter.
No, you're doing a great job.
They are the stories that Joey tells with those other hosts as well, just fantastic. So, Joey, if you don't mind, just take us back for a short time, just to let us understand how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, all the way back, 2005, I graduated from high school in Northwest Georgia, actually, and joined the Marine Corps. Didn't have a plan to it, just kind of fell into it, and had a good recruiter, I guess, and some buddies that were heading that way. And so by 2010, I ended up in Afghanistan. I'd worked really hard, and I deployed to Iraq in 7 and 8, and became an EOD tech, explosive ordnance disposal technician. It's like the movie Hurt Locker, but different. And so it's a great job. It's a lot of fun. In the Marine Corps, you got to work really hard just to apply for it. They have to accept you into it, and it's a big honor to be an EOD tech in the Marine Corps, any service. And so in Afghanistan 2010, we were working IEDs, improvised explosive devices, what a lot of people called roadside bombs, but in Afghanistan, they weren't on the side of roads. They were in poppy fields and villages, and so that was kind of our mission. So it was a little bit more difficult. We couldn't get trucks where we were, which meant we couldn't use robots. The Marine Corps never used bomb suits in that clandestine environment. So we lost a lot of our ability to distance ourselves from the explosives. So we were losing guys pretty heavily for a job field of just a few hundred. And so kind of wrap up the story a little bit. On August 6, 2010, I stepped on an IED while taking a town called Safar Bazaar. Obviously, I didn't know it was there. I was working other explosive threats at the time, and stepped on the IED, landed on my back. My legs were gone. My right arm was almost gone, and later found out my buddy Daniel Greer, who was a combat engineer and providing security for me, he had suffered a traumatic brain injury that took his life a few days later. So that's what happened. I don't sweat it one bit. I mean, it'd be nice to have legs, but life is good, and I was spared that day. In a lot of ways, Daniel sacrificed his life for me. So on Memorial Day weekend especially, it's really a great to be able to say his name and tell that story and honor him. What happened to me pales in comparison to losing your life on the battlefield. We all deal with something, and for me, it's a set of prosthetic legs.
Wow. Incredible story. I mean, thank you for laying that out for us so people can listen to it. I'm sure, like I did, I'm sure people are going to rewind that a few times and listen to it, because just try to put yourself, or for them to put themselves where you were at that time, is incredible, and where you've come to today and the positive attitude you have is tremendous. I mean, if we all shared a little piece of your positivity, which we try to do, we'd all be better for it. So yeah, once again, thanks so much for that, Joey. I want to get into the hunting, but right before we do, just as a because of what you just told us, for somebody like myself who didn't serve, or anybody who's watching maybe who didn't serve, I mean, what is your opinion on? I mean, for Memorial Day weekend, what is something that we can do to help reflect on something that we really don't know? I mean, I was a firefighter for 26 years. I could tell people what it's about. They have no idea. I have no idea what you did. I mean, what you lived through day and night, and how it was. What can people do to really reflect on Memorial Day? And then we're going to get right into hunting.
Yeah, I think you really have to decide for yourself how you want to observe Memorial Day. I hate to preach at people. I try not to. I can just tell you my thoughts on it, what I do, what I believe. Um, at the end of the day, we love our flag and our anthem, these symbols of freedom. But freedom is nothing without people, so it all just comes back to people. And it's this idea that on Memorial Day, it's a good opportunity to understand, whatever it is you decide to do, you get to decide to do it. And that's a freedom that is not rampant in this world of, 10 billion people. Just a couple 100 million of us get to enjoy the freedoms that we have. And we get to enjoy them because we always have Americans, a generation of Americans, who understand it just enough to fight and maybe die for it. And it's just this idea. Most of us get pretty selfish, and I can't say I'm not one of them. We're going to cut into traffic. We're going to make sure, hey, they can wait, but I'm going to go up here and cut in so I don't have to wait. We're going to, be in a hurry, do things like that. And it's this idea that there are people in this world that, at least for a moment in their life, make the decision consciously that somebody else's tomorrow is more important than theirs, that somebody else being free back home is more important than them seeing tomorrow. And that's what Memorial Day is to remember that even though we didn't know everybody that died in war, and even if each war that we fought and people have died in doesn't make sense to us, the fact is we live in the country we live in with the freedoms we have because people fought and died for it. It's always funny. I bring this up jokingly, but when we cover the royal family, I always make the joke like, hey, we fought a war to not have to do that, to not have to care about them. And I don't say that because I hate the royal family. I say that because I am connected to those men and women who fought in that Revolutionary War. And I should honor their sacrifice every single day. Doesn't mean that I got to look at the Brits as the enemy, but I'm going to bring that up. You're going to talk about the monarchy. I'm going to tell you about the folks that died to get away from it. And so it means that much to me, all the way back to the beginning.
Absolutely. Wow. Well said, Joe. And it's not to lessen folks like myself or anybody who didn't serve, but we feel that way. I mean, I know I do, and my family and friends, we feel as strongly about it as you. And it's awesome to hear from you how you celebrate. But you're right, that freedom to celebrate how you want to celebrate is 100% why we have to remember how we got to this point. So awesome. Thank you, Joey. All right, we're going to get into some hunting. I'm guessing you do some recreational shooting as well. So what I want to ask you, I want to start right out, if you don't mind, give us a little quick scope into how you got into hunting. Like, were you a young kid that got dragged out into the woods by a family member? Did you start out late in life? Just give us a little idea. And then I want to ask you, we'll get into how it was before you joined the service, and then how it progresses after. And I'll have a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah, it's funny. I grew up in Northwest Georgia, and every man that I knew had shot a deer. Weren't a lot of waterfowl or turkey hunters back then. It was pretty much all deer hunting, and it was kind of a if it's brown, it's down culture. Just if you think about late 80s, 90s, that's just kind of the way what hunting turned into. So it wasn't trophy hunting always. But everybody I knew had shot a deer. So I kind of talk about hunting kind of like country music. I was so inundated and surrounded by it that it wasn't special. So I hunted casually growing up. I went out a couple of times with my dad, my uncle, my brother-in-law at the time. Maybe a dozen times total growing up that I go out hunting. My dad used a crossbow in bow season, and so I'd go out with him, but I wouldn't have a weapon. Back then, Georgia had to have a special permit to even use one. And so I was surrounded by it, ate deer meat probably more than I do now because we were
Cool.
poor. But we had dirt track race cars, and on the weekends we were out spending money and time doing that. So what really got me into hunting was post injury, because my whole time in the Marine Corps I was stationed out west, where it's harder to have a weapon or go hunting, Hawaii, Japan, California. And so when I got injured in DC, or when I got injured, I was living in DC, and there was just a kind of a culmination of programs that offered hunts for wounded veterans that I went on a couple, weren't very successful, honestly. And then my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, is a big waterfowl hunter, and he's very good at it. And he owns a farm in some wetlands in northwest Georgia. He grew up doing it, and it was a great way for me to challenge myself to have a shotgun in my hands. I lost my right trigger finger, and my whole right arm was messed up, so not in good control of my right arm. So I had to learn how to shoot left-handed, and no better way to kind of learn that than using a shotgun. Actually, I was right eye dominant, and now I'm left eye dominant. So it can be done.
Can
And
be done.
and so he took me out. He really got me into it. We were very inventive those first few years, figure out what worked, what didn't. And it was just so much fun. It probably took me 3 or 4 seasons to kill anything. It was hard work. And during that same time, I started deer hunting. And then since then, man, if it can be hunted and I can learn how to do it, I want to go do it. I probably favor the bird hunting because it's social and I can bring friends with me. But I've had a chance. I've been very fortunate. We had a show on Fox Nation called Fox Nation Outdoors, and I got to hunt pretty much every big game in North America. I've hunted bear, but I haven't killed one. But all the antlered animals, I've had a chance to harvest, and man, it's been so much fun.
That's great. Now, what happened to Fox Nation Outdoors? Is it on hold?
Well, we only, it was a COVID product. We did 12
Okay.
seasons in 2020. Post 2020, the whole world is different to include the type of programming that we're putting on Fox Nation. There was a show already about to come out that Katie Pavlich was doing. It was fantastic. Probably don't need 2 hunting shows on there. And I've been doing other projects. If they decided they want to do another season, I'm sure I'd find time for it. But it was a whole lot of fun, and it's done well on Fox Nation, and it's kind of a unique thing. What really cool is just kind of talking now. After we put it out, I got 2 emails. I've got an email from Tyler Jordan and Michael Waddell, whom I'd never met, and both of them were just really incredibly gracious and welcoming, and said it was really cool to see a hunting show on mainstream media. So that was really
Yes.
that was a cool. The friendships that show brought me is how I take veterans and first responders hunting a handful of times a year now.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. That's great. And I know you don't have a lot of time, but let Fox know I have some time if they need somebody to help out. But
Absolutely.
it is really cool that it was on mainstream media and you had that. And you did that because he's right. Like Michael said to you, it's hard you can't even stumble upon that. So
Yeah.
it is really nice when it's out there in front of you. And I'm gonna go from what you just said about like him mentioning it being on mainstream media and how important it was. I know you mentioned, I think this morning you guys threw up a statistic about adolescents and not getting out there and
Yeah.
doing stuff. And I think the number was like 80+% of 11 to 17-year-olds or something like that. I actually took a picture of it off the screen this morning. I was like, wow, you don't think about it. So since we're talking about hunting and outdoors and stuff like that, I mean, your thoughts. I mean, I think you have 2 kids, and I think maybe one or both of them hunt. I know you mentioned about them getting outdoors. Do you think like that is a great way for people who maybe they don't hunt, but maybe they want to get into camping or something, get their kids outdoors? What's your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I don't segregate my beliefs. They all are kind of a part of a belief system. So I think that it's incredibly unique in this country to be able to arm yourself almost equivalent to the military. And I think it should be equivalent to the military. It's not because I want bad guys to have weapons. It's because that is such an amazing understanding between a government and its people. that we are such a government of the people, for the people, by the people, that the people themselves are as armed as the government is, and it's this mutual understanding. It's this mutual trust. I mean, to put that much trust into your people from the beginning is very unique. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world like it does here. And you got to have a firearm or a weapon of some sort to hunt. So they're intricately connected. I do a lot of shooting, but I'm to the point now, most of my shooting is making sure I'm sighted in for whatever I'm going to go hunt. Like, it's very practical
Yeah.
for me now, partially because I don't have a lot of time. Or I've got a clay thrower, and that's by far our favorite thing to do. My son and I are out there shooting clays, and my 6-year-old daughter runs the clicker, and she's great at it. You know, she's got the report pair figured out. She'll throw one. If it's broken up, she'll say, "No bird," 6 years old. So both my kids are involved in that. She shot her first center fire at a target a couple weeks ago in a gun rest. And I don't force it on my kids, but it's so much a part of our lives. I want them to be comfortable and to respect firearms, to feel like it's a part of their life. It's easy to get them interested when I'm out doing it, but I don't make them do it. And then when they're ready, they come to me. That's what my son did. Actually, the summer of COVID, we started going to the shotgun course, and I bought him a 410 and me a 12 gauge. And by the end of the summer, he was out shooting me. So,
I believe it.
my kids are very involved in it. You can be a casual hunter, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have a platform, and because of that, I have a responsibility. So if I'm going to go out and enjoy hunting, I have to advocate for it. It's the job I chose, and so I'm very involved with Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, just about all of them, Ducks Unlimited, more local, regional organizations that are advocating. Not Fort Worth Sportsman's Club of Fort Worth, the Double D Foundation, Daniel Defense. It's not just getting access to hunting land, but getting people interested in hunting and educated in hunting. One of the biggest problems with hunting is millions of people that take the time to go buy a hunting license don't vote. And so connecting our rights to the ballot box, our hunting rights to the ballot box, all those are important things to me. We just had a land bill that didn't make it through the House that had some merit to it, but it would have taken a lot of federal land and reallocated it, possibly even into private holding, but without any specification on how it would be used if it went back to the states or even sold privately. So there is a lot of work to be done. You look at the state like Colorado and just how bad that it's gotten there. People have migrated from California and New York to Georgia, Florida, Texas. You got to protect the way of life you have, because even if they come in voting for President Trump, they may not understand the culture that we grew up in and that is in their own backyard in California and New York. And we have to protect that and make sure they understand it. We have to educate them, not just be mad at them or complain about them, but educate them and show them the way.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. And you touched on the hunter and the voting, tying that together. That's huge. I mean, I think Hunter Nation is one of them out there that does that. I think there's a couple of really good organizations that try to relay that message, because we all know. I mean, anybody in any state could look at how many hunting licenses are sold and then look at the registered voters, and you realize there's something missing there.
It's huge.
It is huge. It is, and I'm friendly with Ted Nugent, and Ted is a big proponent of that. He's pushed it. He's great. I do some work with him, and I talk to him often, and loves his military, his police, his fire, his first responders. But he's big on that, tying that hunting and voting guy together, or woman, getting them out there. I think it is a big thing. Do you have I know you mentioned more bird hunting than deer hunting. Do you still get out in a deer stand and sit for a few hours and hunt, or is that something you don't have the time for?
I recently moved in 2023 back to the part of Georgia I'm from. In Northwest Georgia, almost all the hunting's on private land. It's just the way it's been over the years. There was a company called Bowater bought up a lot of land, and when they divested a lot of it, it went into private holding. And so finding a place to hunt, even for a guy that's on TV, isn't easy. And, I'm glad. I don't want somebody just to let me hunt their property because they saw me on TV. So we're getting back into it in the area. So most of my hunting is a handful of trips that I schedule every year, which I don't like. My favorite thing to hunt is whatever's in my backyard. Yes. To me, that feels real and correct. So every year since the hunting show in 2020 and the friends I made, Chris Dorsey is at the top of that list. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the most important people, mostly behind the scenes in the hunting in this country. He's a fantastic guy. He's had several hunting shows, produces shows, but through Chris and the show we did, I get to take groups of veterans and first responders on a handful of hunts every year. My hunting season starts going with a bunch of firemen up to Reelfoot Lake, Tennessee in early September if I'm free for the wood duck and teal season up there. And then we go through September. September 1st, I guess, is really the start. In Georgia, that first hunting day in September, we get early goose and dove on the same day now. So the last couple of years, I'll shoot a goose on my pond and go across the street to the cornfield for a dove hunt. And that's been really cool. So, it's not about the trophy, it's about the experience. And so from there, the veterans hunts I do, we go to Texas every year in December and do an archery-only hunt in heart of Texas, near Melvin or Brady, south of San Angelo. And every year I cycle through about 10 guys I take with me, veterans and first responders. I raise money through my friends and get it paid for them, get their flights paid for, and we have a great time. In October, I do a pheasant hunt up in South Dakota, and then when we roll, then deer hunting is just where around the house is just when I have a chance if a neighbor lets me, and I've got a couple that do now. And then January is my best hunting season because it's the only time things slow down for me, and I am with one of a handful of friends in Arkansas duck hunting. I've been very fortunate to meet some buddies that have a place they could be an outfitter out of, but just chose to let their friends hunt it. And so I bring a couple of buddies, veterans, first responders, and we go out to Arkansas a couple of times and try to get on some waterfowl.
That's nice. That's nice because I was going to ask you if you had like a hunting crew, but you have a lot going on with with the
Yeah.
veteran hunts, and also you have a lot of hunting crews, which is cool. And I got to go back because like right now, I got to just mention real quick, like my son is now like my one of my main hunting partners. He's 21, and you're on your way there now.
That's
But
exactly
you had
right.
mentioned I think either this morning I saw something the other day. You mentioned that you were lucky that your kids were involved in the outdoors with you and
Hmm.
stuff. But to me, it's all about parenting, and I call it raised right. So
Yeah.
you're on your way to building a much tighter hunting crew as well. That's awesome.
Absolutely. My son's 15, and he is so involved with school activities. Hunting trips aren't really an option. So, hunting locally, hunting with the neighbors, man, that is so important. And that's what I'll tell you. Listen, look up urban hunting if you live in a subdivision. Find out what the rules are. Subdivision's tough, but in neighborhoods and heavy populated places, there is plenty of opportunity to bow hunt deer
Yeah.
and do it. It's really like find the opportunity. Don't look at these 200-inch deer on a high fence ranch in Texas and think anything short of that is a failure. That's far from the truth. The
Great.
most important game I've ever harvested was in my backyard, and
Yeah.
that's what you can do with your kids.
Yeah. Well, you're 100% right. I mean, I'm in New Jersey, and a lot of people. I think I was talking to somebody on a podcast, and they were like, New Jersey. I thought it was all refineries and this and that, but then they
Yeah,
came and hunted. But I'm in a spot in New Jersey where I'm looking outside right now, and some of my best memories are from a deer stand that's in my backyard.
yeah,
Just legal distance from my neighbors' houses. But that's what we do. We do our best to get out there no matter what. Not everybody has gigantic pieces of land, but
yeah.
my kids were in my tree stand. I have pictures of my kids in the tree stands with me that before they were even legal to have they didn't have a gun. They were just with me. And I was teaching them at, 5 and 6 years old, what it's like to get out there. And I even used to write down the temperature. So that way, when they got older, if they said, like my son's 21, he loves to hunt, he doesn't question it. But my daughter, if she says, Dad, it's 30 degrees out, I'll go, well, a couple of years ago, you were out there and it was only 12 and you lasted 2 hours because you were dressed right. But the key is making those memories and getting your kids out there. I think it's huge.
No, I love it. Like when I left the Marine Corps, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I thought, thank God. One thing is, I don't have to be miserable, like getting up in the middle of the night, freezing cold, just want to go sleep again. And what did I do? I found a hobby that does just that. We hunted the North Platte River in Nebraska in January, and it was -5 degrees. and I was with Randy Couture and a guy named Steve Ferris. Now, Steve's a really interesting dude. He was the guitarist for Mr. Mister, and for whatever reason, left the rock and roll world and went and became a waterfowl hunter. And so Steve was our guide, and we're having to cross the North Platte River a little bit. And if you don't know much about it, I mean, it's only inches deep in some places, but it could be a half a mile wide, it looks like. And so there's this picture of Randy Couture. If you don't know who he is, Army veteran originally, but one of the most famous UFC fighters ever in all those Expendable movies. He's got me on his shoulders, carrying me over to the duck blind because I've got prosthetic legs and it's so cold outside, the hydraulic fluid is slowing me down and I can't get them wet. So just those stories, like, yeah, did we shoot? I shot the fattest mallard I've ever shot. And, I don't even have it to this day. The taxidermist that we sent it to shut down and won't answer the phone. I don't care. I've got that picture of me and Randy, and that's what that hunt was all about. And so, being miserable can be fun. And I think that's, maybe that's why I'm okay with my prosthetic legs. It's why I'm going to the gym as soon as we wrap this up. But being miserable, feeling it, earning it that way, it can be so much fun and rewarding. And this year was the first year my son at 15, like, kind of made mention that we were in a deer blind and it was so cold. And we had one of those little, cheater heaters in there with us. And as soon as we got it cranked up, the gas went out. And I said, well, son, I guess we're going to earn it. And then at the end of the hunt, he's like, man, that was kind of awesome. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's kind of good to be miserable sometimes.
Yes, it is. It is, especially when we can pick it. Pick the misery for the hopeful reward at the end. Before we wrap it up, I just want to ask you: Does Joey Jones have like a bucket list hunt, something that you're thinking of accomplishing before you don't want to hunt anymore?
I can give you several answers to that. I'd say the top of the bucket list right now is getting my son out there to experience the things I've experienced. That's what's like on the horizon. My
Right.
brother-in-law's 10 years older than me, and his dad did it for him. He's got two girls that aren't really into it. And so he's kind of like, he's doing it. He wants the three of us to go do some stuff with my son being the guy. And so that's what's on the horizon. I told him, like, I might have to park my gear on the shelf for 10 or 15 years and go let him do this and do it with him, and I'm okay with that. But as far as things I want to hunt, like I said, when I had that hunting show, I had a chance to go harvest a mature elk and moose with a rifle. And now that I've got into bow hunting, I'd like to do some of those same hunts again with a bow. And then I haven't had a chance to get a real nice and mature mule deer. And there's they're out there, and I just haven't put work into it. But I'd say most importantly, bucket list item for me is of what to hunt is something fun I can take my friends with me on, and that's what it's always about. So if we're ever willing to spend the money, we might go try to kill a king otter up in the Aleutian Islands or something. That might be a retirement trip there. But there's always something you want to go do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got a long career ahead of you doing what you're doing now because you're way better at it probably than even you thought.
Certainly
And
better than I thought, because I'm still doing it, and I didn't think they'd have
of
me more
course.
than a day. So
Yeah, don't stop because everybody enjoys it. When I mentioned I was going to talk to you today, so many people said to me, "Yeah, I know who he is. I look forward to seeing him on there because he's like there's a bright light coming from that guy." It's true. Yeah, I
I
mean, this
appreciate it.
morning you were dressed sharp today too. You look good, man. God bless you.
Oh
So,
man.
Joey, I ordered your book. I ordered the book that's out already from Amazon. A friend of mine
Mhm.
told me last night that he read it. So hopefully I get it today, and it'll be my Memorial. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's it right there.
Yeah, be my Memorial Day weekend read. Now, what's the new book you got coming out? Tell us quickly about it, and then we'll wrap it up and tell us where we can order it.
Yeah, so I misunderstood. Yeah, the book that we did a couple years ago called Unbroken Bonds of Battle, it's available
That,
now.
that's what I just ordered.
And what's great about that book and this one, and for this podcast, is there are several people, if not all of them, in that book I've gone hunting with. Almost
Oh, cool.
everybody in Unbroken Bonds of Battle. The first three are three of my closest hunting buddies. There are also Marines that have done exceptional things. And so that book is about service members and the bonds that they created in service. Coming into promoting that book and telling people about it in 2023, I went to HarperCollins and Fox News Books and said, listen, I think there's another story to be told here similar for first responders. And what inspired that was my brother-in-law has been a fireman for 25 years. His best friend, by chance, is a guy is a guy I've known since I was 3 years old that was like an uncle to me. He's been a fireman for almost 30 years. My sister's husband, that's like a brother to me now, is a deputy chief at a neighboring department. He's been a fireman for almost 30 years. Then I go, and so I take, those three of the guys I take on these hunts, and I take them on these hunts with my Marine buddies that are in the other book, and they start talking and they connect and they start talking about what they've been through and things that bother them in a setting that they would never, like, only there would they do that. And so I continue this idea of bringing in more first responders, police officers and other types. And we go on these hunts, and the veterans and first responders get around each other, and they kind of unload a little bit, because the other guy doesn't know exactly what you do, but he can understand it in a way civilians won't. And in hearing those campfire conversations, I realized, when I went to war for 6 months and came back, I got to leave my battlefield at home. Pretty much every aspect, look, sounded, smell, all of it is very different here. And so the trauma that we endured, watching our buddies die, seeing kids get hurt, being in ward, thinking our life was on the line, under fire, those things are not they're nothing to take lightly, but they're definitively closed in our life. My friends that are first responders work on their battlefield every single day. And when they take their uniform off, they don't get to leave. So when they take their kids to school in the morning on the way to work, they're driving through an intersection where they saw a kid die in a car crash. When they take their family to dinner, they pass by an apartment building where they responded to a house fire and weren't able to get everybody out. And so it's this idea, police officers respond to a car crash in their neighborhood, and it's somebody they know. The school that they went to school at and care so much about caught on fire. And so it's this idea that the tragedy and the trauma that they experience is so personal, and they see it every single day, that they never get away from it. And so this book is 9 accounts of the life of someone in a first responder role, whether it be police officer, SWAT team, fireman, border patrol agent, search and rescue, that's the first responder element of that, or a Maine game warden, who's the only Maine game warden to ever have to use his firearm in the line of duty, and who spent the first part of his career diving and recovering dead people, and then found a dog and trained her himself, and they became the most successful search and rescue team for finding people alive. And so he turned these negative experiences for the first part of his career around and went and found people alive. And so, for this podcast especially, one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. And I met him in Maine hunting moose. He carried me on his back across a river, just like Randy, and helped me take my moose. So all the people in the book are people I've spent time with. Most of them I've known for a really long time, if not my whole life. And others, the time I spent with them has been over the last couple of years and have really inspired me.
Wow. That's amazing. First of all, I had no idea what this second book was about. Hearing that, it's going to hit home with a lot of people. I mean, most of my friends are firefighters, and a lot of them have served, and they're in the fire department actively. I'm retired, but yeah, I mean, I can't wait to. I'm going to ask you how we're going to order that and how long we have to wait for it, but I'm excited because to be able to tell people what it's about. I'm not sure how many people that I know personally know, but we're going to definitely be reading that. So I appreciate it that you did that. I mean, that's awesome. And to tie the 2 books together is going to be it's going to be fantastic. So how do we go about pre-ordering that? Is it?
Yeah, so we'd love for you to pre-order it, because quite honestly, it just tells us how many to make. It gives us a good idea, and it allows the bookstores to know what the demand is. So the more pre-orders we get, the more that people are learning about the book, and it's the quickest way to get it, because they're going to be shipped on June 17th. So June 17th, you'll start to get your book in the mail if you pre-order it, maybe even a little bit earlier. And June 17th, it'll be available on shelves and online. But you can pre-order it at foxnewsbooks.com. That's the best place to get it. And a lot of people ask about signed copies. As soon as we figure out the best avenue for that, we'll put that out on our social media. You can catch me on Instagram and X. I'm too old for the other stuff, but we'll let folks know as soon as we do how to get a signed copy as well.
Joey, thank you so much. This is great information. I mean, we touched on a lot of different things, and for me, hearing your the first story, like we started out with your story, and then hearing what the second book is about was
Yeah.
not really. I didn't expect that part. So really good though. I loved hearing all about the hunting and the kids, and keep it up, man. You're awesome. We really love what you're doing, and people can relate to you in a different way. So it's so positive. Like I said, positive people like yourself are salt of the earth. So really, really appreciate it.
One last thing I'd love to say, if you'll allow me, is
Sure.
uh, Jeremy Judd, the Maine game warden. I met on a Maine moose hunt with a guy named Dave Hintosh. Dave runs an organization called Veterans Afield Foundation. He's a selfless guy. He works really hard. They're a small, lean group, but he has been a driving force in allowing me to do these hunts where I can take veterans and first responders. And the thing about it is, a lot of people offer hunts to wounded veterans. I mean, it doesn't get a lot more wounded than me. But you don't understand is the connection that can be made and the trauma that can be endured for somebody who wasn't physically wounded but watched their buddy die on the battlefield. In my opinion, they deserve that break, that opportunity more than anybody. So they don't have a Purple Heart to show for it, but they got a life of grief to show for it and trauma. And so what Dave and I do is we get veterans out that have deployed, not just veterans that were injured, and we try to take a handful of them that already knew each other and reconnect when we do it. And so if you go to veteransafieldfoundation.org and support them, another guy in the book, Tommy Worrell, Baltimore County SWAT team, met him the same way through Dave, and then several of the guys in Unbroken Bonds of Battle, Dave's taken hunting. So hunting is not just a theme, it is the reason why these books exist. And Dave Hintosh at Veterans Afield Foundation is a big part of that too.
Cool. Thank you for mentioning that to us. I'll be checking that out as soon as we get done here. Cool. I mean, tons of great info. Most of all, thank you so much for your service to the country. Thank you for coming on here today. This has really been a blessing for me to get to talk to you in person, and we're going to get this out there for everybody to enjoy. Have a great Memorial Day weekend and Memorial Day on Monday. And who knows, maybe we'll get you on here in the future, maybe after I read both books, and we could talk about some of those stories or something. We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. And the guys in the book, they'd be great guests. Some of them on there, Jeremy Judd would be a good one. That's what's cool about this type of book is it opens up the world to a lot of better people than me, and yourself right there on the list. I appreciate you doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you. And I got to just tell you, I mean, the reason why I do this is I started doing this not very long ago, but I got some really great responses from it, because my thought is just to give people an opportunity and a platform to maybe get on here and talk about hunting, whether they're known hunters or whether they're somebody who nobody even knows that they hunt. I think it's just cool. And you shed so much light on so many different aspects of why hunting is important to you. But what you said is pretty much what a lot of people feel. It's just different. Some people don't really talk about it. And listening to the way you talked about it is kind of different than how I would explain it. So appreciate it. Really do appreciate you coming on here. I think you kind of changed things a little bit, because people the way you explained it was so good that it kind of opens up the ability for other people to get on here and blast out what they think and feel and make sure everybody gets to hear it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the work you do, and let me know when I can come back on and help you out in anything.
You got it. Thank you, Joey. Thanks a million. Appreciate it, pal. Stay well. Bye now. At this time, we'd like to thank our supporters and sponsors. Signal 11 Lures, Lip Glue, New Jersey Multi-Species Podcast, Sever Broadheads, Jersey Fluke Bellies, Favorite Fishing Rods, Timberlife Outdoors, and Buck Knives. If you enjoy the content on our podcast, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications. And please tune back in for our next episode. Thank you.